Hello and good evening. My name is Cynthia Saska, and I am the creator of Gaia's Medicine. I help women in their 40s heal from chronic and neurological fatigue. And I am here today with Amy Andrews, who is going to share a little bit about her healing story. She is a medical medium follower, and she's been using the medical medium protocols to heal from a number of things, as well as some other protocols, and she's going to tell us all about them today so that we can learn from her experience. And I really just, my intention with this is really to just highlight the incredible healing that's available with medical medium and the work that I do, and just to help people understand like it really is possible to heal from so many different things. So here's Amy. She's going to tell us a little bit about her journey. Go ahead, Amy.
Hi, my name's Amy, and I've been on this medical medium journey for about 2.5 years. And I started drinking celery juice daily for the purpose of treating my skin. I wanted to improve my acne and clear up my skin. And I was also struggling with chronic fatigue. I was tired. I had aches and pains from previous injuries like broken arms, elbows, that kind of thing. And I knew that celery juice seemed to be helping me. But what I didn't realize is that the more I drank celery juice, the more I would be choosing better for myself and then continuing to clean up my diet as I went. Do you want me to keep going? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually, that you mentioned that. So, just by drinking the celery juice, it actually helped you make better choices for yourself overall in other areas of your life, is what I think you're saying, right?
Yeah. I started with the lemon water first thing in the morning and then celery juice, but I would still have my coffee. It happened in layers. Like I still drank my
Right.
coffee and occasionally I even still drank alcohol. And little by little, I was realizing like if I'm doing all this work and putting nutrition and wonderful things into my body, like the bad stuff has to go. And from there, I discovered the heavy metal detox smoothie and added that. And then I bought his books and really dove into some of his recipes as well. And I just, it's amazing what I saw, like the benefits I saw. Some of the things that I didn't even realize I needed to treat were polycystic ovarian syndrome. Uh, my aches and pains went away. Little by little, I kept making improvements, and my energy kept improving, and as well as my mind. That was a huge thing for me. It was just the clarity that I was getting from cleaning up my diet. So that was
So,
huge.
did you read the books cover to cover, or did you just sort of read the parts that you felt like you needed?
I started with Liver Rescue, and that one blew my mind. I read that in one night. I just stayed up all night binge reading it. I couldn't believe it. Like that one, I felt like that one was like I learned how to love my liver after reading that book, and I never wanted to put another harmful ingredient in my body ever again because I just want to nurture my liver for life. But
Yeah.
it's so weird. And then from there, I bought the rest of the series and I really just skimmed them. And
Yeah.
there's recipes, and then I would look at the back. Like Cleanse to Heal is amazing. It's got all of, like, you can look up pretty much any symptom you've had and you can treat it. Acne,
Mhm.
ADHD, I've got all these things. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, aches and pains, inflammation, viruses, just chronic fatigue. And I was like, once I started diving into it all, it was amazing how fast everything started healing for me. For 10 years, I'd had a copper IUD inserted. And
Uh-huh.
suddenly, like, once I started cleaning up my diet, I just knew that that had to be removed. And that was probably part of the reason that I was still having acne, is because of the heavy metals in the copper IUD that,
Right.
were adding to any kind of, I don't know, concoction I already had brewing in my body with viruses or other, bacteria. And so I knew it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm cleaning this up. This has to be removed, taking care of everything.
Right. Right.
And as I started that journey, then I really, really dove into my own healing, emotional healing that went along with clearing out all of these things that were in my body. Um, there were a lot of memories that came up, a lot of memories that came to the surface that I had suppressed, childhood memories. Part of the way that I do my thinking has to do with some of the trauma that I experienced as a little kid, about not feeling safe in my environment, being in really unpredictable situations with people who were harming me, and being on edge like that made me disassociate often, or I often disassociated maybe because of that. I'm not really sure. I was very little. And so my brain isn't wired like a lot of people's. And once I discovered that medical medium could help me heal that as well, that this is where my focus is going now as an adult. I don't think the healing is ever done, but I've come to this place of like really accepting and loving myself and being so proud of myself for where I've gotten on this journey
Yeah,
I'm at.
yeah, you've healed so much
So I've healed a lot.
already.
Yeah. And also, yes, my health is, I have a lot of energy. I probably go to dance classes 3 or 4 nights a week. I do yoga 2 to 3 times a week. I take walks, I run. We're active. I'm out
That's
there with my
amazing.
kids. I have a lot of energy. So it feels really good. And, um, but I think in doing all of the cleaning and diet help, I'm also cleaning out people, addictions, just clearing out what isn't serving me or what I no longer have time for. As I like raise my vibration, I there's some habits that no longer hang out with me, which is fantastic. So like doing the work with the diet alone has, it's expanded into a whole bunch of other areas. And I wouldn't be here without coaching and mentoring as well. Like there was times like diet alone wouldn't cut it. I needed a coach, I needed a mentor, I needed a counselor. I had to tap. I did a lot of tapping on my body. Even had a tapping coach for quite a while. So
Mhm, mhm.
I don't know if I should name names, but it was a huge part of my healing was the emotional healing that went with the healing of the body.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I use tapping with my clients. We use the, rapid relief technique with Sarah
Nice.
Longoria. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's super helpful, I think, to release a lot of those trapped emotions that we get from trauma in childhood. And I find that a lot of people who do this work, um, they're doing all the things that they think they need to be doing. They're following all the protocols for medical medium. And when they still are not healing, they're wondering what's wrong with them. They think they're broken or why isn't this working for me? And part of the reason is that they have other trapped energy in their body that they need to remove. And although the medical medium protocols can really help move some of those emotions out, because for sure, when you're cleansing, you are also cleansing emotions. Sometimes there is other modalities needed to help finish clearing that stuff out, right? So when we do intuitive health readings, when I do intuitive health readings with my clients, we go in and we look for things that are stuck in the body, and then I can pull those things out if there's something I can clear right away, or I can recommend, like you were saying, like tappings where we can help move the energy throughout as we tap and talk through it. Those are really helpful ways of clearing the emotions. And because when we have trauma, and like you were saying, you're kind of on this fight, flight, or freeze journey your whole life, basically from the time you were a child until you were an older adult, and just constantly on the lookout for danger and being aware, like who here is safe and who's not. And um, a lot of people that grow up that way wind up being very intuitive and very empathic, and um, they're all very good skills to have, but that's kind of how we get them, right?
Yeah.
And when we live that lifestyle for a very long time, our adrenals burn out very quickly. And we're constantly battling the adrenaline in our body because the adrenaline is feeding the viruses. And as we feed the viruses, of course, they get more out of control. So there really is an emotional piece to it that's required in order to heal. You can't just do the foods and the supplements. Like you have to pay attention to what the other inputs are, what the other toxins are. And even like you were saying, the copper IUD, right? Like that's a huge thing. And if you're not really paying attention to the environmental toxins or the toxins that you're putting in your body, like if you are still drinking caffeine or alcohol, right? Like if you're not cutting those things out, or if you're not remembering, hey, I've got a piece of metal in my body and that probably needs to come out. That's where people wind up thinking that the medical medium protocols don't work, because they think, oh, I've done everything. I've even tried the medical medium and look, it still isn't working for me. Well, it's usually because there's something else hidden that you're not noticing. For me, it was water. I was drinking filtered water through a Berkey water filter. And, that's what the medical medium recommends. I thought it was the best filter I could get. And I'm a true tree hugger. And so I didn't want to waste plastic. I didn't want to bring any more plastic into the world. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to filter my tap water. And I drank that water for about 5 or 6 years before I finally realized that that was one of the major problems that I had in my life. It was a major toxin input and I didn't know it.
How so? I asked because I have a Berkey water filter as well.
Oh, okay. So I've told this story a lot, but I guess I haven't told it to you. So what I noticed was when I would leave my house, because I went into menopause very early, like in my late 30s. And when I had my hormones tested, my doctor told me, well, you're at post-menopause levels. So it was as if I had already gone through menopause. But when I would leave my house, like I would go away for a retreat, I would get my monthly cycle. That happened 2 separate times. And then a third time I left for longer than a week. I was actually gone from my house for about a month. I went up to Oregon to remodel a house that I had just bought up there. And when I was gone, I started healing and I had my cycle just as soon as I got back. And I thought, you know what, this cannot be a coincidence. There has to be something about my house that's causing issues. And so I basically scoured every every last thing I could think of here. But the main things are air and water, right? Because we're breathing every single minute of every single day, and we're drinking water a lot if we're healthy people and we're, trying to do good for our bodies. And so that's where I looked. I found, number one, that my furnace was not sealed and it was bringing in moldy basement air. We have a dirt floor basement that's not, it's a dirt floor, right? It's not the
Yeah.
cleanest air. And it was blowing from there into the house. So that was one input. But the second input, which actually made a huge difference once I stopped drinking it, was the filtered water in the Berkey water filter. And so I tested my water and I found that my water has a higher than normal incidence of lead in it. And so I can't say if it's the Berkey for sure. It could be maybe I wasn't changing my filters often enough, or I had the big Berkey that has 4 filters and I had 2 plugs and 2 filters. And so maybe the plugs were not plugging as well as they should have been. So it could have been many things. But what I do know is that when I stopped drinking the water out of the Berkey water filter, that my symptoms started reducing almost immediately. Like it was literally like 2 weeks when I could really tell a difference in my body. And it was so drastic because at that point I had been in bed for like an entire year. Like I was literally on Mattress Island, like Anthony Williams talks about, and I couldn't get out of bed. I literally just, my husband would like bring me dinner, and the kids were homeschooling, so they would come to me.
Wow.
So I really, like, even standing up to shower was too difficult. Like by the time I was done with my shower, I was in so much pain from standing up that long that I was showering like once a week because I just couldn't take it. And so all of those symptoms started to reduce within like 2 weeks of stopping drinking that water. I had other symptoms too, like tingling and numbness on the right side of my body. I had a pain in my right foot, like my right calf and ankle were swelling. Like I had a bunch of neurological stuff that sort of sounded and felt like diabetes happening.
Sure.
And also stuff that sounded a lot like POTS, where you stand up too fast and everything goes black and you kind of like, woo. So I had a lot of these things happening, and all these things started disappearing as soon as I stopped drinking that water. So the other thing that I think maybe it could be is if I wasn't like washing my Berkey often enough, maybe there was like some mold or, something growing in there that was wreaking havoc on my body. Like I honestly can't tell you what it was. I just know that stopping drinking that water was very useful for me. What I do now instead is I drink Mountain Valley spring water out of a glass bottle. Mountain Valley spring water comes from, I think it's Arkansas, the Ouachita Mountains. And it's one of the waters that Anthony Williams recommends. So
Oh, wow.
as soon as I started drinking that water, it was like a night and day difference. It was really, really amazing how quickly I healed. But I was already doing all the medical medium protocols, right? So I had already cut out all the no foods. I was already eating all the healing foods. I was doing the heavy metal detox. I was doing the celery juice. I was doing the lemon water. Like I was already on the protocols, and I felt like everybody else felt like, man, I know this works because I've done it before, but why is it not working now?
Yeah.
So I really had to investigate, like, what is happening? Where is the toxin hiding? Why am I not seeing it? And I mean, it took me years to figure this out because, like I said, I was drinking that water for 5 to 6 years, and my health was just slowly declining because I had already healed myself once in the past, and my health was just slowly declining until finally I was like, okay, it can't get any worse. I don't know what to do now because I'm on these protocols and it's not helping. So that's the reason why I do the intuitive health readings up front, because it's really, really important to figure out what the key blocks to your healing are, because sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's an outside force like the water. Sometimes it's a copper IUD, right? Like there is an investigative piece to finding the true problem before you can start healing, right? I mean, yes, you can, start on the protocols and start cutting out the no foods and start eating the good foods, the healing foods. But at some point, you need to determine where all your inputs are coming from in order to truly heal.
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited for you to share your story with us because it's a little bit different than mine, but yet still similar, right? Like healing acne is something that's super near and dear to my heart because I want to help my son heal his acne. And, getting a kid to actually use these protocols, can be tricky. I don't know about you. How old are
Yeah,
your kids
it's
again?
tricky. Yeah, for sure. They'll drink the smoothies, but they rarely drink celery juice.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
okay.
How,
They're
how
healthier
old are
than
they
me.
again?
14 and almost 12.
Okay. Yeah.
12 and
Yeah.
14. Yeah. And so, all their friends are drinking, what's that stuff? Prime. I don't know
Oh,
if it's
oh
prime.
no.
Prime hydration, and they're eating bags of chips, and it's like I have to kind of let them be teenagers for a while, but
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a bit tough when all their friends
Yeah.
do it. I will say, the emotional component for me, your face is what you show the world, and that's the emotional component behind your face. If you look at the emotional component of every part of your body, it's your face that you show the world.
Hmm.
And that's where I was getting acne. And a lot of that for me was a fear of being seen, because as a child, when I was put in abusive situations and didn't feel safe, it really didn't feel safe to be seen. It didn't feel safe to be me. Um, I mentioned off camera that I had been like tied up, locked up, abused, sexually abused. I'd had my head dunked in toilet. I feel like this is important to say just because it's my background story of how I was raised from like about the time I was 2 to 4, my preschool years at daycare. And I was so young that I didn't realize like that wasn't a normal part of growing up. I sort of just believed that, okay, this is life. You get treated really weird and it's scary and people are not safe and you can't trust them. And so that was kind of that outlook stuck with me over the years. And I kept repeating patterns like that where I would be in situations where I really wasn't safe or men didn't treat me well. And I didn't realize that I had some emotional clearing to bring to the surface. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. I know it's hard to talk about our past trauma, but it really is part of the whole story, right? Like we can eat the best food in the world, but if we have this trauma that is keeping us in this state of, like hyper
fight or
awareness.
flight, yeah.
Yeah, it's this hyper awareness with all this adrenaline coursing through our body all the time, feeding the viruses, making things worse. And just all that acid. I mean, it's just very hard on our system. And so, like, actually doing the inner work that you had to do to get through those things, and that you're probably still doing, right? Because I don't know about you, but trauma for me is like an ongoing healing process. It's never going to be, oh, like it never happened, right? Because, like you were
Yeah.
saying, you were so young and you just grew up believing that that's how life was supposed to be. You didn't know any different. And you don't know any different until you do. And then when you do, then it's almost even a little bit more traumatic, I feel like, because then you're like, oh my God, it wasn't supposed to be that way. What was I supposed to have? What did I miss out on? What am I missing? Um, yeah, I mean, it's just the cycle
Mhm.
is long and varied.
When I got into grade school, I attended an assembly about inappropriate touch and what's appropriate from, how adults are supposed to treat you, that kind of thing. And that's when I realized that, oh, I'm different. And it was then that I almost carried shame and guilt, like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know better? Like, I took on that shame and that guilt and that
Right.
embarrassment, and I carried that through a lot of my, adult, well, teenage year, my younger school age through teen years up until high school. And then and even adulthood. I said that wrong. But it was then that I realized, like, oh, I don't need to carry this. I was innocent in the matter. And so just shedding layer by layer by layer stuff
Yeah.
that I don't need to carry,
Yeah.
stuff that I
Yeah.
held on to for a long time because I was different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been quite a journey. So I'm so excited for you that
Yeah.
you have moved through a lot of it, and that you are so healthy, and that you do have so much energy now, and that you're basically on the right track, right? Like you're
Yeah.
headed in the right direction, and it only goes up from here.
Yeah. I will say when I first started this journey, the medical medium journey, and the tapping to clear out all these emotions that I'd been holding, that's when the chronic fatigue really like reared its head, and it was so
Hmm.
tiring to heal. It was so tiring. I was napping every day, sometimes twice a day, and all the while I was kind of feeling guilty about that. Like, I'm a single mom, I'm homeschooling my kids, so I kind of have a story
Yeah.
similar to yours there. But that I felt guilty for needing to rest and needing naps and needing to take that time for myself to heal. And then once I
Yeah.
did the majority of the healing, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm just free. I'm free. And not only that, I'm healing it for my whole family, for my
Yes.
ancestral lineage and the future generations to come.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because all that affects our children. I
yeah,
mean, what we
yes.
went through, the way we live life, and the way we project our energy affects our children for sure. And they're learning from us every minute of every day because we lead by example.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's super important. And for our ancestors too. I like to, feel good about healing it for the entire lineage, not just, the future generations, but also the past generations who need it
Yeah.
as well.
Now I feel my ancestors cheering me on inside all
Yeah.
the time. So it's just,
Yeah.
it's the right thing to do, even though focusing on the health and focusing on the nutrition and focus on feeding my kids right, even though it's the most important thing of all, there's a stigma attached to it, like, am I doing enough? you know should I be working harder? Should I be making more money? No, I really just need to focus on me and my kids. And so that's
Yeah.
what I always come back to, is the simple things for my kids and I.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect. What your kids are going to remember is the time that they spent with you, not how much money they had or their new shoes, right? Like they're not going to remember that stuff years from now, but they're going to remember if mom was around, and, how much love they felt coming from you. So I think you're doing just fine. You're doing it right.
Yep, I feel that.
I used to, when I started this business back in 2017, I used to coach moms with spirited kids. That was the term that I used, because I have two boys that have ADHD, and I really wanted to help moms who were struggling, because it's really not an easy road to go down when your kids have ADHD. It's just it's exhausting. It really is truly exhausting. And so I love it when I find people who are so aligned with, sort of my story, what I went through, and my mission, and how I want to be in this world with my kids and with other people. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing to hear other people's healing journeys. And I just thank you so much for telling your story today, because I really want people to understand what the journey is like for others, because I think a lot of people feel like it's not happening fast enough, or it's not easy enough, or it's easy for others but it's not easy for me. Why can they eat this way but I can't? Why did it only take them 6 months but I've been doing this for 5 years? I mean, there's just, it truly is a journey, and it's different for everyone. And the more stories I can help tell and put out into the world, the better, because I think people will understand better that the different variation and how certain things can impact your healing journey. And it just makes a huge difference for me, for people to understand that. And so that's
Absolutely.
what I wanted to do today. So thank you so much, Amy, for being
Thank
with
you.
us.
I will say one more thing. Um, this is a lifelong journey for me. It's
Yep.
taken me through, it's probably been 2.5 to 3 years. I don't know exactly, but this is something I'm going to stick with for the rest of my life. And I know that for me and my kids, and for anybody who's also curious about it, because it's something that needs to be shared. I own a wellness center, and currently I do sound healing and Reiki, and there's massage and a couple other dance and exercise classes. But my goal is to expand and have a kitchen where we have celery juice and heavy metal detox smoothie available, as well as all of the brain saver concoctions in some of his meals. Like, that's huge for me because I want to
I
help
love that.
people. Like, that's, but also I'm doing it for myself, because when
Yeah.
I'm 60 and
Yeah.
when I'm 70, I still want to be taking these supplements.
Yeah.
And I'm in my 40s, and so I want to protect my own brain. I don't dye my
Yeah.
hair, I don't have any tattoos, I don't use fragrances. I like purposely try to only put good things on my body. But as I get older, I want to protect my brain and all of my organs as well. So,
Yeah.
but I want to
Yeah.
share this message with everybody. I think that America needs a diet update,
Yes.
big whammy.
Yes. I
Cheeseburgers and
was
beer aren't cutting it, you know?
I was just talking online with somebody yesterday who was saying, "Oh, I wish they would make a like a meal service that was medical medium friendly." And
Absolutely.
there is one out there that's like, I want to call it maybe First Seed
Oh,
or
wow.
something along those lines. It's like Indian food,
Mm,
so curries and that sort of stuff. But I think there needs to be more options like that. Like, if somebody created that, do they know how many people would buy
I
that?
know.
Like,
That'd be the
it
only
makes me
place
want
I
to go
ate at
create it.
every day. I know, I want it. I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there. But I also know that, like, my focus is on my kids and sound
Yeah.
healing for now.
Hmm.
I need a good
Yeah.
chef in my life.
Yeah, right? The chef, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someday I'll get to the point where I have somebody who can cook for me and I don't have to think about it. Because yeah, I do not enjoy cooking at all. And so I am not a good chef for myself. I tend to stick with raw fruits and vegetables just
Yeah,
so
me
I don't have
too.
to cook them.
Me too. Fruits, vegetables, smoothies. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at.
Yep.
I like it. It's good. It's working for me. But I don't
Yeah.
know if it's really working for my kids. My kids want more. So,
Right. Or find some support for somebody else to do the cooking, right? Like my husband cooks, my mom cooks.
nice.
I cook one night a week and that's it. And I cook something that I want to eat. So not everybody eats that night. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, both my kids are in braces now. So, like, my son just got them yesterday. So he's like, "Mom, can I go get some froyo? Can I get some ice cream? Because it's kind of a treat when you get braces. You
Right.
can't work, but
Right. Yeah.
I make exceptions for my kids. I don't want to, force them into
Yeah.
this. I know that can make them go the
Yeah.
opposite way and not want to eat it. So,
Yeah. And I make exceptions for myself too. Like, I am not a diehard medical medium person. I do not believe that you need to be 100% perfect every single day. Like, there
yeah.
are days when I just want to eat something that's not on the menu, right? And I will eat it. And I don't have any guilt about it at all because I know all the healing that I've done for my body, and I know that I cleanse once a month, and I know what to do when I have a flare, or, like I I try to eat a certain way every single day, but it doesn't always happen depending on what's going on around me. Maybe I'm out and about and I'm not near a place where I can get food. Like, even going to the grocery store sometimes is not simple. Like, yeah, you can get some fruit there, but you really, like, other than that, you might not be able to get anything else. Maybe they've got a salad bar, but maybe not.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's just not possible, and I try to eat the cleanest things. When I eat out, I eat sushi or I eat Thai food, things that are gluten-free, dairy-free. There's still an element of fat to it. Like there might be avocado or stuff like that. Certainly there's fat in Thai food, like coconut curry, all the
I love
coconut, right?
coconut curry. Yeah.
So I just keep the fats. I just try to keep the fats at night and do the best I can, and know that if I ever get to a point where I feel like, that's a new symptom that I haven't had in a while, then I just go back into a cleanse immediately, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, my body's saying it's time to cleanse again. And I
Yeah.
try to cleanse once a month anyway, but yeah. So just,
Mhm.
we all need a little
Yeah.
bit of grace for
By
ourselves.
lunch and dinner, sometimes I do okay, but I sometimes cheat. Like if I have a taco, it's got a corn tortilla or a flour tortilla, or
Uh,
even a sandwich sometimes occasionally. And so I will eat bread or corn occasionally.
yeah,
But so I'm not too strict with it. And maybe I'd
yeah,
have better results if I were more strict, but at the same time, I'm comfortable. I mean,
yeah.
I feel good. I'm making improvements and I'm healthy. So,
Yeah. And we have to live life, right?
yeah.
Like, in the world where it is today, it's not socially acceptable to eat the way that we eat. And sometimes it's really hard to eat that way when we're out and about around people, or we're like going out to dinner with our family or something like that. And they choose a place where you're like, oh my gosh, all I'm going to be able to eat is like lettuce with no dressing.
Yeah.
And
I don't
maybe
do
they'll
that.
have a lemon for
Yeah.
me and I can put some lemon juice on it or something, right? Like, who wants to eat dinner out like that?
No.
So, those are the times where I will eat something else. I mean, I'll when I went to Italy, for instance, we were gone for 14 days, and every restaurant I went to, I was so lucky. Almost all the restaurants had roasted potatoes and roasted vegetables. So yeah, there was oil and there was salt, but I was still eating gluten-free, dairy-free, like most of the things. And I was overjoyed. It was so delicious. I was so happy not to have to cook for myself, not to have to worry about dinner, to be able to just go to a restaurant and order potatoes and vegetables and be just happy as could be.
I'm sure the quality of the oil was even much better. So
Yep.
that kind of thing
Mhm.
that matters.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much, Amy, for being here and sharing your story with us. It was quite the journey that you've been on, and I'm just so happy that you came and shared. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.